You definitely know someone like this. No photos online, no stories, not a single selfie, ever. Endless scrolling. Everyone's faces, everyone's moments. And one profile, almost empty. Just an avatar. First thought, probably just shy. But psychology says something completely different. The average user posts personal photos several times a week. For some people, that number is 0. And behind that 0, there's a whole psychology, not an absence of life, a different way of living it. 5 psychological traits. Let's break down each one. Trait 1. They control their own narrative, deliberately. Psychologists identify a specific type, people with a high privacy orientation. This isn't being closed off. It's control over their own image. The difference is huge. I don't need an audience for an event to feel real. 3 different motives behind one action, for approval, for memory, or no phone at all. Research shows posting only reduces anxiety in people whose self-esteem depends on external reactions. If you don't need approval, you don't need to post. Simple as that. In psychology, this is called selective self-presentation, a conscious choice of what to show and what to keep. They're not hiding. They simply chose not to live for an audience. That's a choice, not a limitation. The boundary between public and private is one of the key markers of psychological maturity. Trait 1, done. Trait 2, they have an inner compass, and it doesn't get thrown off by other people's reactions. The concept of self-concept clarity, knowing yourself clearly. People with a high score know their values, priorities, and exactly who they are. The clearer a person understands who they are, the less they need an external mirror. High self-concept clarity is linked to less anxiety, less social comparison, and higher life satisfaction. Most people post photos to answer an unspoken question. Am I good enough? For them, that question is already answered. They don't need to scroll through other people's feeds to understand where they stand in life. Psychologists call this identity stability, a rare quality that's built, not given. When your identity doesn't depend on other people's reactions, you have something money can't buy. A stable identity is an anchor. It holds while a storm of notifications rages around it. Trait 2, closed. Trait 3, they understand how the dopamine loop works, and they don't get caught in it. Every like activates a dopamine release. The brain registers the source and starts demanding a repeat. Neuroscientists call this variable reinforcement. Unpredictable rewards create the strongest addiction, stronger than consistent ones. The same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive is built into your social media feed. People without photos online either never got caught in that loop, or they stepped out, deliberately. Psychologists distinguish 2 types: contingent self-esteem, fed by others' reactions, and secure, fed from within. The difference is like a swing versus a foundation. One moves with every comment, the other stays still. They don't need someone else's "that's great" to feel good. That is psychological health. Secure self-esteem is linked to less anxiety, greater resilience to criticism, and deeper relationships. Trait 3, done. Trait 4, they understand how digital comparison works and choose not to participate. Social comparison theory. The brain automatically evaluates us by looking at others. This isn't weakness, it's biology. The feed isn't reality, it's carefully curated highlights. But the brain treats them as the norm. People who post less frequently experience less FOMO, fear of missing out. They're not against people who post. They simply choose not to play a game whose rules work against you. Awareness isn't indifference. It's the ability to see the system and decide what to do with that. Trait 5, they choose presence over performance. Psychologists call this experiential depth, the depth of living a moment. When an experience doesn't need to be turned into content, it's lived differently. Research shows photographing to post reduces the emotional intensity of the experience itself. When a moment doesn't need to be saved for an audience, it's lived more deeply. Trait 5, done. So, an empty profile isn't a mystery, and it isn't a limitation. 5 traits, all of them about one thing: conscious choice. Psychology doesn't say posting is bad. It asks a different question. Why do you do it? If the motivation is joy and connection, that's wonderful. If it's anxiety and a need for validation, that's a different story. Next time you see an empty profile, don't rush to conclusions. They might be more self-assured, more resilient, and more emotionally mature than anyone in your feed. They don't need to be seen to feel real. And that is real confidence, the kind that needs no applause. If you enjoy breaking down the psychology of behavior like this, subscribe. New video every week.